Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whatever time zone it is with you in the world. It is your Lord and Saviour, and yeah, that's a pretty fucking loaded title with an even loaded thumbnail. But as you can see on screen is a tweet that I did last night at 6:44 p.m. Hey, at By Night Studios, you aware Rion Bergquist, one of your board of directors, posting gross transphobic shit on TikTok? You can see that by the numbers it's done particularly well. Not that's important in the sense I've just implied, but I do want people to see it. Last night, during an online date with my partner, it's a long-distance relationship, a friend of mine made me aware of this tweet, which has now since been privatised. So the video's been taken down and the account's been made private. That the individual did a transphobic TikTok, which we will address momentarily. And things have begun to really show the direction of By Night Studios here, a company that, despite being associated with World of Darkness, which I have very strong mixed feelings for, have really fucking gone downhill in my expectations. Those of you who have been watching my stuff for, well, since the beginning, the very first book review that I did was the review of Mind's Eye Fear to Corebook. This is the deluxe edition. I didn't pay this. This was a gift that was arranged by the then community manager, Elise Horse. The spine, very hard cover, very glossy, lovely arty-farty pages and glossy paper. Had a ribbon, two ribbons in there, but they fell out pretty quickly. Very expensive book. And we're now here, where essentially the big cheeses of the company are very openly and publicly posting transphobic content. And it's not like... it's not accidental. But let's have a look. So we scroll down here a little bit, just some follow-up tweets. Somebody was able to send me a screen recording they did of the TikTok in question. I also have it backed up on a drive, so it's not going anywhere.
Well, we now live in a world where if you encounter somebody who tells you they identify as something other than they appear to be, you're expected to treat them as such. In some countries, you can go to jail if you misgender or refer to someone as something other than they identify as.
In those first 17 seconds, we now have everything that we need to know about Rion. What he thinks about trans people, non-binary people, and the various other umbrella terms and whatnot, and people with pronouns. No disrespect. Something that should be considered to be weird and alien. But let's carry on, just for completionist's sake.
Now, that's difficult for some of us who are skeptics. And for those people who are a little bit rough around the edges, they would say things like, "So you want me to play make-believe with you?" This gets really difficult the more outlandish what people choose to identify as becomes. And I recently saw this post,
which reads, "Don't homeschool your kids, they'll be weird. 1995, kids in public school identifying as barn animals, 2023. Well, if you had any fucking brain cells and did a bit of research, you would know that this is a hoax. And so is the idea that it's based upon. I believe it was a school in Canada that supposedly had kids that wanted to identify as cats and get litter boxes. This isn't true. This is an infamous hoax that was basically used to scare the right into having people fear trans, non-binaries and pronouns, and would you fucking look at that? It's worked. And the hoax is so infamous that it actually has its own Wikipedia entry, which I'm actually going to leave in the description below if you have no idea what I'm talking about.
On a couple different pages. And one of my friends today responded to that post by saying, what's really interesting is there are two teachers that I know that have students who identify as something. One identifies as a cat, the other identifies as a cow, and has special dispensation to go out into the outside area so it can graze. Now I'm trying to get this.
Could you try again?
Siri's helping. I'm trying to get that clarified to see if it's actually true.
I'm not sure I understand.
I'm not sure I understand either, Siri. But if it is true, then what we've got here is someone who identifies as a cow, and I'm supposed to respect that they identify as a cow and believe that they are a cow. My question then becomes, if I eat that that cow, am I a cannibal? Or do I just like steak? It's a crazy world, folks. Good luck figuring out how to live in it.
Yeah. I don't know why your first thought is like, can I get away eating this child? You fucking weirdo. And what if they want to identify as a cow or cat? Sure, it's unusual and you don't understand, but it's none of your fucking business whether it's you to understand or not. Is it? Just out of common courtesy, you respect their decision and refer to them how you want to. And yeah, I know there's going to be people who are like that. Well, that is a very outlandish example, and he's a older gentleman, shall we say. What happens if he genuinely does believe that? Maybe he is a trans ally. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and everything else in between, and outside of that, that's not very much the case at all. Because amongst everything that was happening yesterday, somebody forwarded something that he produced on TikTok 3 to 4 months ago, which we're going to go and take a look at. Before I hit play, just out of respect, I tried playing this a moment ago, and OBS is not liking this. Like, the bit at the top of the bottom is, flickering quite a bit, which I don't know if that's going to cause any seizures or whatever. I hope not. So if I look a bit awkward, leaning across, I'm just moving the cursor around so that doesn't happen. So, yeah, let's see what Rion has to say this time.
Well, the Michigan State House has us all talking about pronouns again as they passed a resolution that's wending its way towards law that will see anyone who repetitively uses the wrong pronoun on someone charged with a felony and either jailed and or fined. Repetitively, the definition is more than once. And then the other trigger is the person that you use the wrong pronoun on has to feel discomforted. They use different verbiage, but that's what it boils down to. And we live in a victim society, so anybody can feel discomforted almost immediately for any little thing these days, and that's fine, right? Well, I expect this to pass. Whitmer has said she's going to pass it. And I suggested a couple of days ago that people should, jump ahead of this and set some fun pronouns for themselves just to show how ridiculous this all is. And I've been told that you can't do that. That pronouns are much more serious. The people telling me this, you haven't gone and looked at the experts, have you? I suggest you search pronoun lady. I was having this conversation with my wife and she's like, well, it's not like purple's a pronoun. I giggled, not knowing for sure, but then searched. Purple, pronoun lady. Guess what? According to the expert, purple is a pronoun. Now, armed with that knowledge, I have a new suggestion for all of our pronouns as soon as Michigan passes this law. And I think a lot of us should take a vacation as soon as the law goes into effect to Michigan to just have some fun. On the day that passes and goes into effect in Michigan, every single one of us should change our pronoun to Frida. Specifically, free to go. And then any interaction that you have with police, which would be on body cams, which are admissible, would go something like this. Am I free to go? No. Am I free to go? No. All right, now, on body cams, the officer has denied your pronouns twice, repetitively, and you're discomforted. You can now sue the hell out of the state. This is going to be a windfall for anybody who's willing to have some fun with it. Y'all have a great day. Everybody should be free to.
I've seen that a few times now, because it's taken me a few times to record this, by the way. And each and every time I get just as livid. It's fucking infuriating. And guess what? Sorry if that annoys you, but he supposedly has a trans son. And I'm saying allegedly, not that I don't doubt that he has kids, although I definitely do doubt why anybody want to marry this fucking scumbag and have kids with them. It has a trans son. So we scroll down here a bit more, back to the original tweet. People obviously not very happy with any of this. For your information, he also marks things mocks things like safety tools and session zeros, just in general, and someone who should not be working on VTM material. Well, I'm actually going to amend that a little bit, Dylan, and say that they shouldn't be working with TTRPGs at all. We're not going to have a discussion about consenting gaming and session zeros. We know those arguments and those discussions already. Total scumbag. Shouldn't be near anything relating to people. At least whores, then community manager. This is false equivalency, the original pronoun things, to real trans people who make up a population that's backed by science. And an antidote about a person who may not even exist who believes they're a cow. To me, this just reads as another excuse to dismiss all us trans people. People just very annoyed and frustrated. And I am looking for the comment from... You just scrolling through, you can see that people just super upset by this. We're going to get on to Daphnee in a moment, so I think I've gone... Oh, wait, no, it is with Daphnee. I'll just jump straight onto this now. Daphnee is the CEO of By Night Studios, and she has been vigilant in her attempt to protect this man and his transphobic rhetoric. The post in question has been reviewed and has been taken down. Rion himself is the proud father of a trans son and a firm supporter of trans rights. Law By Night VTM, I would like to take a moment to talk with you one-on-one. Daphnee Reeder, By Night Studio CEO. I have watched Rion actively knowingly misgender individuals who have said numerous transphobic things over time, including his child. I don't speak up for those individuals who have requested their privacy, but he has a habit of using his trans child to escape accountability. If he is saying those things that we've just witnessed about pronouns and trans people, non-binary and all the other things that exist within that, I feel really fucking sorry for that son. That he's essentially the fucking laughing stock of his father. And these are the things that he's happy for people to hear. What about the stuff that goes behind closed doors? I'm not going to go through all of them, but we're going to demonstrate it here. This is the first instance of it. Having a trans child doesn't excuse posting transphobia. It makes it worse. But he's not transphobic. You keep saying that, but he posted a transphobic video. Well, it's true. To say that he's not transphobic because they have a trans child doesn't mean that. To use a more common example, I'm not racist because I have black friends. I cannot believe that you wrote your example and have not heard that one before. I'm not ableist because I'm disabled. The list goes on. It's just really poor example. We have this one here. Why do you need to do things behind closed doors when the general public is now of the concern of what your colleague decided to make public? I find this response to be unacceptable and unprofessional for CEO of a company. And it's just wanting to have a genuine heart-to-heart talk. Well, Daphnee, as you've probably gathered, I don't want to talk to you. Whatsoever. And seeing your various comments and things around social media... Oh, and your Facebook. It was brought to my attention... because you posted this publicly, which I'm actually going to leave there for everybody to see, that you don't feel any remorse, that you feel you're being hard done by. I don't know how to start this. I don't actually know how to start this bit, but this is the message that Daphnee has sent. And I haven't shared this publicly, but this is the bit that ties the thumbnail and whatnot together. I've shared it with a few people, but let's have a read here. Hello there. I am the CEO of By Night Studios. We saw your post and have directed the TikTok to be taken down. Rion is the proud and accepting father of a trans child. While his post addressed the new trans species movement, which doesn't fucking exist... School children wanting to identify as a cow and being able to graze due recess or wanting to identify as cats, the post did not take into consideration how it would be interpreted overall. No, because white man, high position up, can't get cancelled, he just jumps ship to a different business. But yeah, the whole trans species not only dehumanises trans people, the issue here, as you've presented it, doesn't fucking exist. By Night Studios have been an active supporter of the Trevor project since 2020. The Trevor project that completely sacked its union, that used its union as a bargaining chip. I will leave a post about that in the description below. Every June we actively promote our Pride store and donate profits on that funding effort towards a cause that provides 24/7 crisis support services to LGBTQ young people. This June, we will host a LARP event, tentatively in Chicago, where we are planning a charity auction and support event to support the Trevor Project. We would like to work with you as a content creator towards growing the outreach for this and inviting you to attend. Nikki Daniels, doing much of the planning around the event, would love to reach out and work with you directly to see how we will amplify the message. Feel reader to email me if you like, and then the email by Night Studios. Don't harass them. I don't want that. But to address the issue, I am being proposed to be bought out, essentially, by the CEO to keep my fucking mouth shut. Are you fucking stupid? Do you really think, having called you out for this behaviour, that I'm just going to go, yep, I'm going to totally sign up and do this, and you didn't even know that I existed until last night? And I can pretty much work that out confidently. If we go to my Twitter profile, we go to followers. It's been a day. There we go. Twitter shows you the verified, all the fucking Elon Musk bollocks. We go to followers, and it sorts it by the most recent person to follow you, and you scroll down a little bit, and where are you? A bit below. There you are. So you only followed me fairly recently. So you don't know me and what I'm like. So let me make this very clear to you and anybody who had any fucking doubt. I don't like you. And I don't like your behaviour. I don't like the behaviour of your colleague who, I'm going to hazard a guess, that put you in that position rather than something that you worked for. I don't like the fact that you've been standing up to this, that you clearly have reviewed the clip and you don't give a fuck. And because that you're queer, because I saw you mentioned it somewhere, doesn't mean that you're not transphobic. And you're supporting the transphobe, so therefore you are transphobic. Let's have that old line, if you sit at a table with 10 Nazis, there's actually 11 Nazis. This is kind of what we've got going on here. When as I said earlier on, I called you out and I had people message me with this and that, which I'm not going to go into because it's just basically a theme and variation with Rion. It talks about another predator, somebody who no one knows why they were invited there, another board of directors. I'm actually going to leave a link to this drive I mentioned in the descriptions below to you to have a little gander yourself. There isn't much, admittedly, but it's what I was willing to share with the permission of those who got in touch with me. And somebody who very openly on their Facebook was very happy with mowing down immigrants that came into the US. Which is fun. But I find this message ultimately insulting. Because as we've just established, you don't know me. You only followed me so I could be notified by this message here. Plain and simple. You cannot convince me otherwise. And yeah, on the surface, a trip to Chicago. That's exciting. As a content creator, there's World of Darkness stuff. I could do, stuff. Oh, Prince Jackson's Haven's in this place. The War of Chicago happened in these areas. I have content creator friends in Chicago that I think if I dropped them a line and said, hey, I'm in Chicago for a few days, want to meet up, I'm sure they'd say yes. And then, vlog stuff or LARP, which I've never done before, would be fucking fantastic. Especially, over 24 hours ago I might have considered. But those people who got in touch with me have had experience with By Night Studios negatively over the last couple of years. Some of them are trans, some of them non-binary. I have friends also, outside of them, that are trans and non-binary. My partner is non-binary. I have friends that are two-spirit, which, to dumb down very, very basically, is essentially the Native American phrase for two-spirit, but for non-binary, but there's a lot more to it than that. Go and do your own research. I've established myself as somebody who calls out this evil. It's evil. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating, it's evil. This evil shit, and calling out companies and people when they say and do things like this. To challenge them. To try and make this space better for us. Sure, I get things wrong sometimes. I've been villain of the week on Twitter once or twice, but I've done my best to apologise and develop as a person. But I don't see that here with you. This is the CEO, the one who owns the fucking company, the one who's running the ship along with the board of directors, basically saying it's okay to take the piss out of people because of their different pronouns. We've got the CEO who's defending these actions. And you think that after calling you out, that I'm willing to have a heart-to-heart conversation with you, you think that I'm going to disregard all my morals to portray not just myself, but my friends and followers and acquaintances who look up to me, who come to me for support and expect me to do these things? No. Absolutely fucking not. Fuck you and fuck your company. How dare you insult me, your fans, and quite frankly the rest of the human race. By Night Studios for the last couple of years has been the dual example of World of Darkness with all of its fundraising activities and the merch and pins and whatnot. I know what you've been doing. I've thought it was pretty cool. But quite frankly, you're doing it as just to give yourself a fucking pat on the back. And that's why you've also messaged me wanting to come over. See? Law by Night doesn't think that we're bad people. He calls this stuff out. If you fucking knew that about me, he wouldn't be here if we didn't think we were good. No. I know what you've done. I'm not fucking stupid. You do not care. You do not know who I am. And you do not know my values and what I stand for. Trans rights are human rights. Respect people and how they wish to identify themselves as, regardless of how fucking stupid you think it is. Keep your fucking mouth zipped. And don't piss people off. Just don't be a cunt. Let's put transphobic out of the window for a moment. It's just common human decency to treat people how they wish to be treated. Go fuck yourself.